Hey everybody, it is Tara Green and we're going to talk about the Cancer new moon. Now the moon rules Cancer, so here's the moon at 24 degrees Cancer with the sun there. New moon, the dark moon, is the time for new intentions, and Cancer is the sign of the mother. So it's kind of like the egg gets fertilized in the darkness of the womb. So this is very fertile energy here. We want to sit in the darkness. There's really like 3 days of the dark moon. So from the time of the new moon, which is at exactly 11:32 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time and 2:32 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time and 6:32 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time. You want to sit in the dark until the first sliver of the new moon reappears. Now the moon will only stay in Cancer until later today, in Pacific Daylight Time and early on the 18th. So it would be good to do your ceremony early just to stay within the element of Cancer. So we can see that Pluto, the most powerful planet we have, at 29 degrees, the anaretic, the most powerful degree, is sitting opposite the sun and the moon. And the nodes of the moon, now here, they haven't yet moved backwards to change signs. So this is interesting. The north node is still at 0 degrees of Taurus. The south node is at 0 degrees of Scorpio, and they will change later that day. I'm going to talk about that and do another chart for when they exactly change. But again, this is a big, what they call a big grand cardinal cross. Cancer is a cardinal sign along with Aries and Capricorn and Libra. So these cardinal signs usher in the new seasons. Okay, now, so the moon is in her home sign, in her own domicile, so she gets to rule the day. So what else have we got here? So there's a lot going on here. I've kind of put in a few extra things here. We've got Venus, of course. This is a big, big week. Venus is about to turn retrograde on the 22nd at 28 degrees of Leo, which is traditionally the place of the heart of the lion, of the star of Regulus, which is now at 0 degrees of Virgo, right? So we're in that kind of Venus shadow. This has been going on since June the 19th, but we're kind of reaching up to that peak. Now, also this week, on the 20th, there's a very powerful Mars-Saturn opposition, which is really in effect right now as well. You can see Mars at 4 degrees Virgo, Saturn at 6 degrees of Pisces retrograde. They will make an exact opposition around 3-4 degrees on the 20th. That's a very tough warrior energy, very much perfectionist. You got to watch your health. These are the two malefics, Mars and Saturn, opposite each other, again, creating more tension here. Again, if you have any planets in the early degrees, early days of being born in beginning of Virgo, Pisces, Gemini, and Sagittarius, you will feel this most intensely. And I can attest to that because I have a bunch of planets there. The planet Neptune is in conjunct, or at 150-degree angle, Neptune and Pisces, to Venus in Leo, and this will be in effect as she turns retrograde, and Pluto at the 29th degree. Pluto and Neptune are in a sextile. They're very supportive, so this is a higher octave, very spiritual kind of breakdown and breaking open. I think this is a symbol of a lot of people waking up, and in conjunct to Venus in Leo. Now, Venus in Leo is all about the heart and doing what's in your heart. So the challenge is to live fully from the spirit and to bring it into your body in a very practical way. And I think Venus's retrograde is going to be a lot about reevaluating all of that. Now, Juno, the feminine form of genius, is up here at 14 degrees of Cancer, right on Sirius, the most beautiful star in the sky. Jupiter is at 11 degrees of Taurus, and Jupiter is, where are we here? Squaring Mercury at 12 degrees of Taurus, so we'll be able to think with our hearts. There's Lilith also there at 21 degrees of Leo, being squared by Uranus and Taurus. So women may be being hit upon in some very weird ways right now, or reacting in really interesting, empowered ways, actually. Ceres, the Great Mother, is at 7 degrees of Libra in a square aspect to Juno. So not giving away yourself in relationships, but nurturing them at the same time is really, this is Hathor, Isis, this star, Juno, the brilliance, connected to Sirius. So I would go out and look at Sirius and connect to Juno there to get a sense of connecting to the Great Mother. Chiron at 19 degrees of Aries is also squaring the sun and the moon. So we can be feeling quite vulnerable at this time. Chiron, the wounded healer in Aries, is very much about the toxic masculine. So working with those kinds of energies as well. Again, Saturn, 6 degrees of Pisces here. Saturn is sextiling Jupiter, which is a nice positive aspect. Let's see, what else have we got here? Sedna, my intuition said use Sedna. Now, she entered Gemini for the first time in a very long time. She has a very slow orbit in hundreds and hundreds of years. Just recently, she's at 0 degrees of Gemini, which is really interesting. She's the goddess of the underworld. She rules all the sea animals. With Saturn and Pisces, there's going to be a lot of information about, protecting the ocean and the waters. And so there's Sedna. In Inuit mythology, she is the goddess of the oceans and all the sea creatures. And as Pluto enters Aquarius, they're going to be in a trine to each other, which is, I find that really interesting. Like Pluto and Aquarius is all about innovation, technology. So there could be a lot of the information, of course, Sedna in Gemini's air, about using, like, literally things appearing from thin air, energy from thin air. It's very much about AI and somehow incorporating the unconscious, the unknown. Like it could, I've heard this already, that AI has sensors that they can project your thoughts, your feelings, and your dreams already. So again, this is a pivotal day because the nodes of the moon, the north node and the south node, the north node represents our highest spiritual and collective goal, and the south node represents past lives and what we're releasing, change signs later today on the 17th until, I believe it's January 11th, 2025. So we've got 18 months of this shift from Taurus Scorpio, which is all about assets and real estate and money and transformation, emotional transformation, power tripping, into new beginnings, Aries. So we're going to soldier on. We're going to have a lot more energy. Now the nodes move backwards through the zodiac, so they will move from 29 degrees Aries down this way, and the south node will go from 29 Libra back. So if you have any planets, any angles, any nodes, any asteroids, any goddess parts there, they will be affected by those nodes. So we're going to release our need to be dependent on others, and we're going to change our relationships. It's not that we're going to relate. I think Gen Z has this whole thing about not caring if they want to relate, and I realized that COVID was all about training people to be in isolation, which is not natural. And we want to go into nature. We do not want to go away from nature. We are nature. So new beginnings, lots of entrepreneurial things, lots of fighting spirit, with Aries, so are you at war or are you at peace? So, again, they are squaring Pluto. So this is a very pivotal, fated time right now, but this is a germination time. Cancer new moon, to sit in the darkness and to really open your eyes in the dark and see what you can see. Also on the 21st, the sun opposes Pluto. So some very heavy, intense aspects this week. As Venus goes retrograde, literally within a half an hour, the sun enters Leo, and then Chiron, the wounded healer, goes retrograde on the 23rd. So this is a very, very powerful week. I don't think that many big aspects have happened in a week. So you can see all the tension here. Vesta, the root word of investments in Gemini. So I would say tech stocks, AI stocks, which have been going up if you're investing in the market. Opposite the great attractor. I've put in some extra things here. Venus is also trining, I didn't write this in there, but Venus is trining the galactic center, which is really, really powerful. And the galactic center and Neptune are squaring each other. This is a great time to really tune into some high energies. But in some ways, I've been finding that Saturn in Pisces has really been putting up the blocks. Also, those fires that came, I'm up here in Toronto, but those fires that came through from Quebec, they deposited a lot of really nasty stuff on the soil. I have an organic urban garden, which I've been doing for about 25 years. That soil does not seem right or feel right. So if you're growing your own food, I would strongly recommend that you wash it in hydrogen peroxide to get rid of whatever chemicals, residue is on your vegetables before you eat them. You got to remember, there's Ceres, the great mother there, trying to find some balance. Psyche, the root word of soul, psychology, is also at 3 degrees of Scorpio, pretty close to the south node as well. So there could be some big psychological changes and letting goes that we have to go through. Uranus is up to 22 degrees already which is quite amazing to me that it's moving so quickly. And of course, Uranus is in a positive aspect, sextiling the sun and the moon. So it's a good time to really change things up, declutter, get a makeover, go with the changes. I know everybody's hoping that things are going to calm down, but they definitely will not, especially with Pluto at 29 Capricorn and moving backwards more and more. So really tune into your dreams. The challenge with Venus retrograde is to stay with your heart, and the challenge with Pluto and Capricorn is what is your soul's path? What do you want to do? So again, we want to go into our homes, we want to go into our emotional bodies on this new moon. It's interesting because it's a dark new moon in Cancer. There's only one new moon in a sign each year. Unless we have a blue moon, there will be a blue moon in August, actually, 2 full moons in a month. Okay, so take note of these nodes changing sign. Think about what your highest goal is, what you're moving towards in Aries. What new beginnings do you want to strike out with? How do you want to be more spontaneous, more risk-taking, just more energy? There'll be a lot more energy available, which I think we need. I'm finding Saturn in Pisces, and Mars opposite is really kind of swampy, muddy, and slowing things down. And that might be just really fire types get impatient, which they do. So yes, there will be less patience with the North Node in Aries. So people might be easier to road rage and anger and violence. That's, not a good thing, but that's very likely. So I want to wish you all the best at the Cancer new moon. Make sure that you sit at the new moon in the dark and really meditate on this new moon and ask the Great Mother. It's also, we're getting close to the feast of Mary Magdalene, to the Great Mother archetype to come and nurse you, to nurture you, to help you with your trauma, to help you to heal yourself, to become the golden child again, which is what, Isis and Osiris, Sirius is all about there. So I want to wish you all the best blessings. If you want to get in touch with me, I am at tarottarot.com. I am going to do a live workshop on the 20th for the Venus retrograde, where we're going to recrown ourselves. This is going to be really powerful. If you've been to my workshops before, you know how powerful they are. This one's going to really be the most powerful. And we're going to work with all of the energies and really go fully into our hearts, into the, going to preview a little bit of the Venus Cazimi, when Venus sits in the heart of the sun on August the 13th as well, and really reevaluate everything, reevaluate what our hearts are telling us. So sending you all the best blessings. Yeah, you want to get in touch with me, tarottarot.com. Speak to you soon.